they knew that there was going to be a lot of people there, and they knew that they needed something to happen. They needed it to happen to be able to point to this for the next 4 years, to make this a huge thing. So when it comes to January the 6th, I have a lot of different places I want to start. But again, I don't want to get caught up in the weeds because, for me, I have a hard time talking about January the 6th without talking about the election, because they are interlinked. Without a doubt, they're interlinked. And so I don't know where you want to. I don't necessarily think we need to go to the election, because you want to talk about get banned in a hurry. Well, this video will go no further than where it is right now.
Yeah, we had a video get removed.
That
questioned
the freest and fairest election that we have ever seen in American history. We believe that. We want to be YouTube. It was free, and it was the freest, the fairest ever. Okay, that's our statement at Kingdom Come.
Well, because they stole the election, then they really need to cover up for it and distract people.
So and we could talk about it from that. You can talk about it as its own entity and get a lot from it. But when you add that element to it, you get a lot more from it.
There's no way to understand it outside the context of the situation that the country was in and the desperation of those involved.
Was the kidnapping of Governor Whitmer pre or post January 6th? Pre. So we actually have an event that was pre on record proving that FBI, CIA members were involved in the plotting in the encouragement with this group to kidnap Governor Whitmer, right? So we have that. You can go look this up. This is not a conspiracy. There was federal agents involved in the group that was
like most of the group.
Yeah, like not like 1 out of 10. Like most of the group were involved in plotting this kidnapping. So we have that.
That was used to paint the right-wing extremists of the MAGA movement as, dangerous, as willing to carry out such a thing. When it turns out they were federal agents.
So we have that, and then we have the Summer of Love with Antifa, which was always, not a real group, we're told. That doesn't exist. Right? That's an imaginary group that we make up on the right. The burning of cities, the destroying of churches across from the White House in flames, literally in flames, which was mostly peaceful, according to media outlets. These mostly peaceful riots with billions of dollars of cities destroyed. So we have those things. And then we have this event on January the 6th that they know there's going to be a lot of Trump supporters there watching Trump as he gives an announcement. And then Trump comes out and says, we're going to make our way to the White House and we're going to the Capitol, right? And we're going to peacefully protest.
Peacefully and patriotically.
Peacefully and patriotically protest.
And this was the day, January 6th was the day that they were
inaugurating.
Verifying the Electoral College.
Sorry.
That's what was happening.
Yes.
In the Capitol.
Yes. And so that in that moment, with all the things that are happening surrounding the election, and now that we have YouTube, but now Rumble, right? And we have the ability to look into these things and to investigate these things. And there's independent journalism, and we don't have to rely on just these major media outlets to tell us what to believe. Because of all this independent journalism and these people that are looking in, things are like just like oddities, discrepant, call them whatever you want to call them. And it's just like, man, like these things don't make sense. Again, we're not going to go into those things right here because we'll get banned like that. We've already done a video that got banned when we talked about those things, because you're not allowed to talk about those things. Keep that in mind. You are not, there are rules on social media. Number one is you are not allowed to question the freest and most fairest election we have ever seen in the United States of America. There will be no questions about that. None.
To protect democracy.
Yes, to protect democracy. Because you could incite another January 6th. Tucker Carlson right now is inciting another January 6th, they're saying. Right? We need to censor him.
To protect the First Amendment.
To protect the First Amendment, and so that he doesn't cause another January 6th. That's what Chuck Schumer is telling us right now, right? So they knew that there was going to be a lot of people there, and they knew that they needed something to happen. They needed it to happen to be able to point to this for the next 4 years, to make this a huge thing.
And they could have had the security in place with both the Capitol Police as well as, the National Guard, Trump, the Department of Defense. They had all done their part in approving the use of that level of security to make sure the day went over. I mean, if you're going to have that many people around, you need more security, no matter who the people are. And so that was approved of, but denied, rejected. There wasn't the level of security needed. And then you see, like you said, there's quite a bit of on the ground footage before their surveillance tapes, the security footage that's recently been put out. But before that, you have people with their cell phones and recording all kinds of events of the day, showing that around the Capitol it was both, pretty peaceful. I mean, you had a bunch of people there, but people were just standing around for a long time, and all the security that was there, you have audio of them talking about how outnumbered they are if anything were to happen. But then you also have footage and seeing some of them like opening the barricades, some of the
okay,
security.
so we're here and now we press through into moving into the Capitol, right? And up until recently, the only surveillance that we have had, the only video we have had, because again, if you post something to say, hey, I know the narrative is this, but I have video showing this, banned. You're censored. You're taken down. That video can't exist for the protection of democracy and the truth. The truth, Chuck Schumer said. The truth. I want the truth. Right? Chuck Schumer told us. But that's been taken down. So there's only been one narrative. Now, remember what I've told you. If the left or the establishment starts to accuse somebody of something, that means they're doing it themselves, right? So when Tucker Carlson was announced he was going to get this surveillance from McCarthy, they immediately said Tucker Carlson would do what? He would cherry pick it and he would show his own version or his own narrative of the events on January the 6th. And I was like, what? What did you just say? Like, that's what you've been doing the whole time, And so, again, and people fell for it. Right? They're like, yeah, we don't want that. We don't want Tucker to give us a new narrative. We don't want him to show us another side of this. We just want the same narrative. Right?
So on the news, you've got on repeat the same footage of the people outside or right up against the doors and windows, banging,
shaking and banging and breaking stuff.
So, I mean, it certainly seems chaotic. It is chaotic in those moments.
And pictures are worth 1,000 words with the QAnon shaman, right?
Oh, yeah, him.
Painted like Braveheart with his helmet on and the stick. Like, we're taking the Capitol. Because I heard so many people died that day.
Yeah.
I've been told that.
Well, that was put on repeat early on, all the deaths that happened.
Sicknick and the Attorney General not early on, the Attorney General told me just last week that 6 police officers died. 6 police officers died.
None of them did they?
No, not a one. Nobody died.
Yeah, except Ashley Babbitt.
Yeah. Well, she died.
Yeah.
But
none.
No police officers.
Well, and
a few died in the Summer of Love, but none on January 6th.
In the loop that shows the riot taking place, they neglect to show, like I was mentioning, that now in the clips from people's cell phones and things from outside, it shows that people are just kind of standing around, and the police that are there are just watching them. They're not resisting them. They're people are coming up to the door and doing all these things. The police are standing there, or you have instances where they're opening the door for them. But they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
About the situation.
And
things
we were
they
told
could
that
have been done.
We were told that by people that were there. That was the original narrative by the people that were there. Now, the media took up a different narrative and said, no, it was an insurrection. It was an attack on democracy, the worst we've had since the Civil War. And many officers died, right, due to these things. Beaten to death. Officer Sicknick was beaten with a fire extinguisher and ultimately died at the hospital, which was not true. We know now.
At all.
So the point is, like, people that were actually there were going, what? No, to your point, they're letting us in. Like, and that was one of the things that Tucker Carlson showed with the QAnon shaman, was them walking around, officers walking around. They're armed. He's not. They're actually trying to open doors for him and like, no, you can go in there. You can't go in there. Right?
Seem to be escorting him through the building.
Yeah. Like, hey, you want to see this picture in here? Come on in. Right? I mean, like, it was not a big deal. I mean, this was not, and again, I go back to, why do that? Why paint this day out to be something that it wasn't? Why not just lay out the truth for what it was? Are we for people going into the Capitol and doing some of the things that some of these people did, like Nancy Pelosi's office, putting your feet up on her desk? No, I'm not for that, right? Of course not. Like, there needs to be some kind of, security, and you just can't do these things, right?
Self-control. And not vandalism,
right.
And destruction.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And breaking and entering.
But there wasn't a lot of that, is what we're saying. There was a few bad
relative
actors.
to the number of people around, and what actually could have been if it would have really been an insurrection.
Yes. So, but again,
no weapons were found on these people.
None. Only the officers, right? So again, like, why paint it out to be something that it's not? Let's just say what it is. You shouldn't have done it. This was not okay. But to paint it out as it was, many officers that were killed. It was the worst insurrection against the United States government we have seen since the Civil War, when we just had 2 years ago. I mean, my gosh, if you're going to make a claim, don't let an event be like in our past just 2 years ago that everybody's going, well, there was cities burnt down and the church.
Was just 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months. Like, at least make people do like an actual seeking for new evidence. Like, it needs to be way back there. So you have these claims that are made that are just like, if I'm on the other side of it, I'm going, well, these are just obviously wrong, right? And so why do that? Why paint this picture like that? Why go to these links to do that? And then something Tucker Carlson brought up, which I found to be the most disturbing of all, was that this QAnon shaman figure, which they had painted out to be the most dangerous human being on the face of the earth, right? That he was a terrorist. And they painted it out and restricted a lot of video to be able to paint this picture. And then he went to trial based on the video that they had presented. Like, this ought to be the scariest thing for, like, American citizens, that this man was tried based on the narrative that they presented, not based on all the video surveillance footage, because we didn't have it until recently. And then you go back and you look, and this man is being escorted through the Capitol by police officers. He actually prays and thanks the police officers on that day for their help and them being good police officers, and says a prayer for them, right? And now you're looking at it and you're going, this man was tried and convicted and sentenced to 4 years in prison for what?
And they withheld evidence.
They withheld evidence, his constitutional right to be able to present all the evidence. So he gets a free and fair trial like we had in the election, right? I mean, free and fair.
How many other people are still in jail as well?
To this day, right? To this day. And so as an American citizen, this ought to terrify you. Like, it ought to terrify you. And I'm not big about using, exaggerated language. But this is not exaggerated language. This should absolutely terrify you, that they can withhold evidence to be able to try you and convict you just like a police state would, right? A police state will find a person and then look for the evidence to be able to convict that person. They're not looking at a crime and then looking for the person. They're looking for the person and then trying to go find a crime, right? That's what police states do. And this country very much looked like a police state in this hit on the QAnon shaman. They needed a target. They took the Trump tactic to an individual, right? They withheld surveillance. They withheld evidence in surveillance footage. They had inside of all this, they had a state-controlled media, and what they presented to the state and to the American public so that we would be on their side about the decision that they're making. They silenced the opposition by not allowing them to have all the videos, surveillance, the footage, right? So all of these things are shaping up to be it looks like a police state against this guy, right? And it's all the tactics that they used on Trump. Now they're using on an individual. And to me, that's the scariest thing. Because Trump always said, they hate me because they hate you. And if you don't think, I'm in the way. And if you don't think that these tactics will be used on you one day, you got another thing coming. And it just happened. And I'm not saying this is the first time, but it clearly just happened in something that we can observe with our own eyes. And it's being laid out on the Tucker Carlson show right now in front of our eyes, what they did to this man. And that'll scare the hell out of you.
Yeah, not just one man. Again, there are many people, I'm not even sure of the total number, but that are in jail still from January 6th, been held even without a trial and things yet. I'm pretty sure. But like you said, this is really what they've been doing with Trump the whole time. They have the man they're trying to take down. They're in search of a crime. Mm-hmm. They're desperate to find anything and use anything to get him out of the way.
New York still has something right now going on. Not to go on a rabbit trail here, but
I'm sure. Just anything they could possibly find, and they actually haven't had anything stick. No matter what the media may say.
Has there ever been a president that has been tried to be impeached twice and failed both times?
No. I mean, there's a lot of firsts with Trump. It doesn't even behind that, the situation as it exists now, when we're talking about bringing the event to pass in the first place, the potential, like you said, with federal agents involved in the Governor Whitmer plot. But there's accusations now, and there's other video footage of people in the crowd on January 6th trying to instigate the crowds to get more violent, to enter the Capitol, to do things.
That were not arrested, right? That you clearly see on the video instigating that were not arrested.
Ray Epps, kind of the main figures. There's also, people early on. We got John Sullivan, who was, that day in the crowd, in the Capitol building, doing videos, and then ended up on like CNN and he's kind of an informant for them along
lucky
the way.
Guy.
Yeah. Just all kinds of possibilities there. There's even people like Ukrainian people spotted in the crowds. Some pictures of people that are like, here he is in this crowd, and here he is over here, and so there's
amazing coincidences.
Yeah, all kinds of really suspicious things happening.
Yeah, lots of them
that day, and it just makes you question, all the more. It's very concerning for what it is, but then it just brings you back to that same big question that overarches all of these various situations: is why?
Yeah.
What is, because that's why it's hard for people to connect the dots or believe the level of conspiracy that we are putting forward. I mean, this is very much a conspiracy theory because we're definitely suggesting people conspired to bring about this event, and of course
but it's not one without evidence.
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
Loads of it.
Yeah,
right?
Just like most. And we're trying to bring about what and understand what's the real situation here, because what we're being told cannot be the truth of the matter. So what's really going on? And all we can do is theorize, but it's not outlandish speculation.
But conspiracy theories don't come from nothing. Right? They're not being fabricated out of thin air. They're looking at things
and this doesn't make sense.
That's right. And then there's trying to connect dots that would make more sense other than the narrative of the day that is being presented. And so for me too, it wasn't just about the information, right? It wasn't just about the information. When Kevin McCarthy decided to give over that footage to Tucker Carlson, it wasn't just about the information. I knew there was going to be new information that was going to come to light, that was going to expose a lot of the lies surrounding the media's narrative. I knew that to be true just because they're liars. And if you're honest, I mean, we went through a whole list of lies that they've told over the last, it was kind of overwhelming how much they do lie.
That was a partial list.
Yeah, partial list. But what was, again, it wasn't shocking to me, but still, for me, it was like, how do people not see this? Was their response to Kevin McCarthy giving over the evidence to Tucker Carlson? And I'm not just talking about just the left. Yes, the left went bat crazy, from media to Schumer to Pelosi to all of those people, right? Schumer went to the point of saying it's a national security risk, because we have all these escape routes when these things happen, and somebody's going to find it and they're going to come and kidnap us, and all these nonsense reasons why we couldn't give the truth, why the truth couldn't be exposed. And then, again, nonsensical reasons. And then he said Tucker Carlson should be censored by Fox, right? Censor more information to the American people. Again, this ought to be, who is for censorship? Liars are for censorship, right? We know this to be true. Less information is what liars want. But then also from the right, you had Mitt Romney come out, say the same things. You had Mitch McConnell come out, say the same things, right? There's a whole host of rhinos on the right that didn't want this video to come out, right? Because they wanted the lie to be perpetuated, that January the 6th was this dangerous event, and that ultimately that Trump encouraged it, if not led it, and we can't have that kind of a man back in office again. Which,
there you have it. You see there.
It all goes back to keep Trump out of office, right? We cannot let this outsider get back in that is not a part of special interest groups, because he has his own money. He don't need to be a politician to be a part of these groups to make money. He already has his money. If you want to boil it down to just that, which is a massively oversimplified way of looking at it, but if you want to keep it simple, stupid, just look at the money. Look at the money. All right, all these people that are involved in not wanting Trump back in office, it's because of money. It's because of corruption and money. It could be boiled down to that. I don't care what side of the aisle they're on. It's corruption and money. They've done corrupt things to get lots of money, and they don't want it exposed. And January the 6th was all about keeping Trump from being able to be reelected in 2024. And it didn't work, suckers.
Yeah, the beauty of ultimately, God works in ways through events, and often he confounds the wise of this world, and he's taken the very thing that they hoped, that they used so desperately to try to end Trump, to destroy Trump, but that's the thing that they got out, farthest over their feet, and it's gonna be the thing, one of the big things that leads to their downfall, exposing their corruption for what it is.
Well, even Tucker Carlson
Hopefully.
said this, right? I mean, he said, people ask, like, why have you been one to go down this path? And he said, part of the reason why I've ended up where I am is because I just saw the way that they treated Trump for 4 years. And I just looked at it and went, this doesn't make any sense. Like, why are they treating this man this way? Why are they acting this way? Like, what is it that they're trying to keep this man from discovering? Or like, what's going on here? He said, I just watched it all and just, it didn't make sense. And then every time I would ask a question, they would go, evil orange man, shut up. He's like, and he was just like, that was like, yeah, but that's not an answer. Like, I'm not for Trump here. I'm just trying to just get some answers. Evil orange man, shut up. Right? He was like, I was like, okay, like, that's all you got. Evil orange man, shut up. Right? And it was like, so I got to go find out for myself. He's like, and as I went down this path of just looking into it, you just start to see it, and it just starts to wake you up to all the things that, and I think this is a good point he makes too. He says, you don't want to believe that the corruption can be so deep that there could be colluding at the level that we are talking about, because it's a scary, scary world if that's the case. Like, if you have this two-party system, which we have been convinced is there to protect us and to serve American interest and to write policies for the good of us, and they're moral and they're ethical and they act with integrity. Like, and I know we don't believe all of that, of course, but there's still some underlying thought that is like, at least some majority, because of the way it's all set up, is heading in that direction, right? And Tucker's like, if you believe that, on the right and on the left, they're all involved in these special interest groups and they're colluding with corporations and big tech and media, and they all got their hand in this cookie jar in the Ukraine and other nations across the world, and the corruption runs that deep, like, you're like,
and they're willing to do some of the things that,
whatever
now,
necessary to be able to keep that lie and that power under wraps. Like, it's scary to think about that. But that's the only way that you can look at Trump and go, got it, check, understood. Like, you have to go down that path, is what I'm getting at, to understand Trump. If you try to understand Trump from back here, where most people do, where they just look at it on the surface, then I get it. It's like, I don't want Trump. Right? I don't like Trump. Right? I get that. But if you go down, like Tucker said, when you start to look at the other side and the inadequacy of the reasons why they're giving you big bad orange man, shut up, and you start to see this entire coalition of institutions amass, which have so much power against this one man, it's like, y'all loved him just like 5 seconds ago. Like 5 seconds ago, you loved him. Entertainment, media, in business, all of you, and now you hate him. Why?
Never have those seeming two sides of the political system, or the whole of Hollywood and big business and media, and never have they all joined together in unison against a single candidate or political persona or individual until now. And again, it makes you ask the question. But then, like you said, whenever we grapple with the weight, the enormity of the implications of this, and it ought to be very frightful. You have a choice. We have a choice. Do we just bury our head in the sand again, because that's how we've gotten to this point, that for at least decades, if not generations, and I mean, you could take it far back in history, and you could say these kinds of things have always been going on, but you can be dismissive of it too if you just suggest, well, this is always how it is. Man, there's some truth to that, but yet there's a unique situation happening, and we have to make a choice as a people, as a nation. Are we going to reckon with this for what it is? Are we going to swallow the hard pill of looking at it and trying to be honest, trying to get to the bottom of it, even if it reveals some of our most revered role models, politicians, whoever we thought was on our side, they're actually not serving our interest. And just to see that level of corruption, that level of evil, I mean, it is evil and wickedness. And so in order to fight that and bring it to justice, I mean, it's this unprecedented time, and it requires the strength and the force of justice to be able to mount itself up to go against such evil. And so we as a people have to, which one of these sides are we going to get behind? Which one really is, fighting for what is closer to the good and the right, however imperfectly in that.
Which pagan king do you want to follow? Right? I mean, but that might be the only two options, right? We're trying to look for this God king, this godly king like David, but you may only have Darius, right? Daniel, his second command with Darius, right? And he's old school. He was kind of, old school and believed in certain justices and righteousness and merit and all that. Like, he wasn't a worshiper of God per se, but you want Darius or do you want Nimrod? Right? I mean, like, who do you want, right? I went way back there for that one. I didn't have to. I don't know why I went way back there.
Well, exactly. We may not have the righteous leader that we desire in whole, but we're never going to have that.
Never
in this world, in this life. That's what the Bible teaches us. God is the only true righteous king. When God came in the flesh, we crucified him.
Yeah.
So we can't even trust ourselves to be able to discern what's good and evil, what's right and wrong always. We see in this how easily we can be led astray in it all and deceived by the forces, the powers that be, their control over the media, their control over the narrative, the story that's being told. You have people telling us what is true and what's not true, so that's the battle. And what do we believe? Are we willing to wrestle with these things so that we really know what the truth is and we can move forward in that, or we want to just stay complacent and do we trust that that's going to lead us to a good place? And I don't know if your eyes are open whatsoever.
It's led us to the place where a man like I can't even remember his real name. I just call him the QAnon shaman now. That's how much propaganda. Chansley
or something.
It leads us to a place to where a man can be convicted without all the evidence. That's where it leads us. And because it's not you today, you don't worry about it. Right? It's out of sight, out of mind. It's not me. I'm not sitting in prison. But when it is, are you going to be behind bars going, I wish somebody would do something. I wish somebody would speak up. Or when it's your child, or when we move into this full-on police state. And if you think that we're not headed there, if we continue down this path, you're kidding yourself. You're just pushing it off so your kids have to fight that fight. But your kids, that is the world they will grow up in if things don't change. If something doesn't change, your kids will grow up in an impoverished police state in the United States of America. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. It is the direction. It's the direction that we're headed. It is the direction that we're headed. So,
Lord have mercy.
Amen.